Let me just share my screen. Okay, so welcome everyone to the sync today. It's June 18th. So I just want to point out that we have some interesting performance blogs that have been coming out on our LanceDB blog. Many of these are related to improvements at the format layer. So we have not yet announced some of these on social media, but we're going to be putting those on social media as well as Discord. The first one is a metadata benchmark comparing Lance, Delta Lake, and Iceberg on Object Store. It shows basically how fast Lance is at concurrent writes for metadata. And then the second one is about blog V2, including how we materialize data and save basically IO during operating with Spark. So I'll post some of these on our channels, Discord, as well as social media soon. But yeah, I think there's a lot more stuff happening at the format layer, including branching and all of that. So look for more blogs and material on those soon. Yeah, other than that, I think no other big highlights in the last couple of weeks. Let's maybe jump straight into the discussion.
Sure.
Go ahead, Will. Yeah.
Yeah, so I posted this discussion the other week where I basically the impetus for this is in part that a lot of format changes have leaked through without any sort of vote or approval. I wanted to figure out if we can make harder gates on the format changes that we were supposed to have, 3 votes on from the PMC. And I think we can break this down into sort of basically 3 sub-proposals. One is, what if we put all of the format artifacts themselves into a separate repository? So like the proto files and some of the markdown that describes it, and then made that repository as a sub-module of Lance. The second might be, what if instead of voting in a thread, we just use GitHub approvals as sort of in GitHub comments as a vote? So if you vote +1, you could just say +1 and approve. And then if we have 3 approving votes from the PMC, then that's allows GitHub to say it's ready to merge. Or if you have a -1, you might do request changes. And then the third sort of component is, what if we moved the discussion for a format change just out of GitHub discussions entirely and just had them as PRs, so that the content of the change was in the PR, and then any explanation of the motivation would be in there as well. The benefit of that being, you now get more of a Google Docs-like sort of commenting experience, where instead of having to just write one block of text in response, you can actually highlight individual changes and make a comment about that. Anyways, from the discussion on that thread so far, I think the first piece, like putting it in a separate repo and making it a submodule, is probably the most controversial. And I think I'm willing to try scratching that and removing that. And it seems like using GitHub approvals or having some sort of stronger approval mechanism on format changes within the repo, if we could do it in the Lance repo, is generally well supported by folks. And then I'm unclear.
I have a quick question, Will. For the second one here, using GitHub approvals for voting,
Yeah.
What is different between that and what we already have currently?
What we have currently is that you go to a GitHub discussion and you have a voting thread, and you write +1, and then someone has to know, all right, go over to a PR, and I'm allowed to merge this PR. If you had GitHub approvals, what you would instead do is you would make a format change. It would be detected as a format change, and then GitHub would say, you cannot merge this because there's a CI check that says you do not need to have 3 PMC approvals.
Okay.
And then once you do have 3 PMC approvals, that maybe that CI job or status check will change to green, and the PR will be allowed to merge.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and I think there's seems to be, from people who commented on general approval, that people can speak up if they feel differently. But then the last one I'm not sure of is like, how do people feel about, do people still want a separate post on GitHub discussions, or would it be fine to have the actual discussion of a format change on a GitHub PR making those changes to the format?
Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm the one that's concerning to have a separate repo for purposes because in today's agentic world, have a repo that have some modules makes our workflow quite complex. Because while we are trying to create a new work tree, we need to figure out the submodules first, and otherwise we can't build our repo. So I prefer to keep those proposals in Lance repo directly, and no need to have a separate repo. And I'm also okay to maybe to change our. So I don't have still preference for the place of those discussion to happen. They can be in GitHub discussion, or they can be happening in the PR itself. And also, I think we can have some proposal registry in our Lance repo, and every item here can point to an external docs like Google Docs or Notion Docs, and we just submit a PR to Lance, and we have a link there, and our discussion can happen at the Google Docs. And then if we are okay with this proposal, we click the approve for this PR, and then we still need to have 3 PMCs of approval for this proposal to be merged in Lance repo.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you don't mind whether or not the discussion is in the PR or in discussions.
Yeah.
And Shonu, if I remember correctly, Blob V2 original discussion was done this way, right? It was run on Google Docs with multiple collaborators, and then move to discussions, and then like back and forth.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in short, I want the approval happen in Lance, and I want the Lance, the repo itself has all the reference to our proposals, but the discussion could happen in any place that people love to have.
Yeah. Does anyone have any comments on what Jack said here in point number 1?
I mean, I would just agree with it in general, that like I think anything that slows down development speed, like in my mind, it's not good that spec changes are going without votes, but it's not necessarily as bad as it could be in other projects. In a sense of like, we're pretty good about backwards compatibility. Like when a spec change, these are often additive, and they are done in a way that like old readers wouldn't really fail. And if an old writer is not producing the field, it's not going to cause a new reader to fail. We don't have like at the moment that multiple independent implementations. Really, they're all kind of built on top of the Rust bindings. So it's like it's not good, but it's also maybe a mild enough bad that I don't want to slow down development process or make things more complicated in any way. But some of these like checks and things like that sound fine. But yeah, separate repo or something like that would probably be too more complicated.
And just to make things clear for someone who listens to this later, any backwards compatibility breaks are caught during the review process. So that we would not merge something if we felt there was a backwards compatible issue, right? I mean,
ideally, ideally that doesn't matter if it's a spec change or not.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think you're right that it is generally not as severe. I think the things that have come through haven't been things that have broken anything, but they have been things where I think if they were carefully reviewed by 3 people who are familiar with the format, they wouldn't have gone through.
Okay.
So there's one change to the transactions that was made to the update transaction that I think we're now, like I saw after the fact, and some people reported some problems with, and we were like, this is actually bad, and we need to redesign this. And deprecate the thing that was added and transition to a new thing. So there's some things where I think we moved too fast without considering the design very well, and we merged some things that turned out to be a little silly.
Yep, makes sense. So it seems like it's more on combination of 2 and 3.
Yeah, I think I'll move forward and make a PR proposing B,
Cool.
and how that will work, and then we can I think we can scratch A off the table to separate repo.
Makes sense.
And we can consider in the future C.
Yep.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right, so I think Weston, you brought this up in somewhere, I forget, one of the chats we had, but yeah, I think it's worth bringing this up where, well, essentially we want to document our roadmap a bit more clearly and publicly so people see it.
Yeah, I mean, this is the roadmap for LanceDB, the company, the changes that we're hoping to make to Lance, the project. It's probably just going to be sort of a living issue. As we stop working on something or start working on something else, I'll go ahead and just change it, take things off, add things to it. I locked it. I don't think it's really like, I don't necessarily want this to be a venue for discussion.
Okay.
Like if people want to discuss things that are on here, we can do it in this meeting or in GitHub discussions or something else. Like we don't necessarily need one more place to pay attention to.
But I guess
just
the aim of making this public is that others in the community who are building something that may be overlapping can know that it's also on our roadmap and they can potentially collaborate, right?
Yeah, and also like sort of there's a lot of PRs and we do our best to keep up with reviews. But it's always easy to do things that are kind of really stuff that's on our roadmap. So that helps too.
Cool. Yeah, I just wanted to bring this to notice in this meeting so that anyone who sees this is aware. But yeah, it makes sense. Let's go to the next one. Not sure who wrote this one. Oh, Will. Okay.
Oh yeah, I wrote this.
Yeah.
This is mostly just my point that I sense that I feel like the GitHub discussions are kind of painful for doing design doc reviews.
Yeah.
Like this is what I had to do to like review this design, was like quote all these things and write in line. It would be very, I don't know what to do about this other than maybe just to have a shout out and say like, hey, if you're doing a design, it might be worth just like having a summary in GitHub discussions and actually posting the Google Doc with public comment permission or something like that. So otherwise it's kind of hard to review. I think I'll just leave it as a PSA. I don't know what other people's opinions are, but I'm somewhat less likely to review things if it's a giant markdown in a GitHub discussion that I have to look through and comment on.
Yeah, it looks like I think there's no opposition to it. I think, yeah, the Google Doc idea makes sense. I mean, it's much easier to collaborate and comment on it. So yeah, it's worked in the past. Maybe we can try that for some major features going forward.
Yeah, I would like that.
And is this something you already talked about, Will? Or did I miss something?
I was just saying that this is sort of similar to my thought of it would, in topic 1, I was suggesting that like instead of using GitHub discussions, just write the spec change and description of it in the PR itself that changes the spec and not even post a discussion, because that's easier to review. So I was just saying that there are other beyond format changes, there are also other changes where we write design docs.
Yeah.
So it's related in that sense. But I think Google Docs is a fine thing. I don't think we want to have like honestly check in any design docs in GitHub or anything.
Yeah, I like the idea of using Google Docs. And I also have a crazy idea that use Claude or Codex to generate a website. Like we can show our ideas in different graphs or pipeline or something like SVG or something like that to show up our ideas more clearly. I think the problem in reviewing design docs, the hardest part is to understand what was the problem and what was your idea. And sometimes I feel like work, especially for non-native English speaker like me to describe what I'm thinking and why I think it's a good way to express them clearly to other people. So next time, maybe I will try to build a website and to generate some pictures or graphs to show my ideas more clearly. Yeah.
Yep. So I guess we could start with the Google Doc and then maybe do something more elaborate, Shomro. Like, I'm not sure if you have an idea for public website with HTML artifacts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. So let's talk about the namespace spec.
I put this in there. But I might punt on this until we actually have Jack in the meeting to discuss.
I think so.
But I guess just to describe it in like really quick. Basically, I realized recently that we have a spec for the namespace and it's widely used, but we make breaking changes very often to it. I do think it would be worth at least having some roadmap to have stability of it.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we can wait for the next one for Jack. This one, yeah.
Yeah, this is from me. And I need to add some context for this proposal first. It's part of my work for optimize lens performance on GPU. And steadily in our current code base, we have two different shuffle formats. And the one is in GPU, and we have a very old shuffle format, and it is nearly never been touched. It's implemented in Python, and it is very slow and have many IOPS, and so it also makes it's very slow for GPU to generate and to do shuffling. And the second one we have is in our Rust code. We have a two-file shuffle, and because everything is happening in the Rust, so we don't need to. So two-file shuffles just passing everything just in our threads directly. So we don't need to write anything in our storage to describe our the layout for our two-file shuffle. It also makes it impossible to the external encoder like GPU to write some files on storage and then get back to our Rust code to read them back. So the new shuffle format is to define such a layout on storage so that everything like our Rust core and the GPU and maybe other external external index builder, they can write the results and write the manifest on storage. So that's the basic idea. And to the detail of this format, is trying to optimize for reading. That said, I wish our Rust encoder can just read per partition, and we don't need to do some filter in our shuffle files. And I think that's all. For the POC, I implemented this format just in JSON, and I'm open to changing to other format if we prefer to use Lance for that.
Yeah, I'm definitely, I think, more in favor of using Lance for it.
Okay, cool.
And I think using Lance files throughout probably just makes it easier to have one file type to work with.
Great.
I guess I haven't read through the new version, but does it describe why like the GPU in version wouldn't want to use the two file shuffler that exists today?
Because GPU doesn't know how to write to those two files. Because while we trying to do GPU encoding, we kind of know ahead about what partition we need to write, and we don't know how to generate those two file shuffles.
This is when this is the GPU is doing the training.
Yeah.
Does it
GPU
not
to do the train? They need to write the results. Yes. Go ahead. Sorry.
Why wouldn't it know the partition IDs? Isn't that part of the? So, like, we have a batch of rows. We've assigned partition IDs. We shuffle them, and then we write out the rows. We sort that batch, and then we write out kind of the offsets for each of the partitions. I think it would have all that information. Now, maybe the GPU's batch like accumulation size is much smaller. So again, in CPU, we accumulate like 10,000 rows at a time, so that when we write the shuffle files, there's num partitions times num rows divided by 10,000 rows in there. But if we were to write the, if the GPU is only doing like 60 per batch or something like that, I could see that maybe the shuffle file would grow too large. But I don't understand why the GPU wouldn't be able to write the shuffle file. Or is it the GPU cannot do like the reading and merging after it's written?
Yeah, there are some details I still need to check. During my POC time, I found that two-file shuffle can be very slow for GPU to generate and then come back for Rust to consume. The case I'm thinking that I was testing a data set with 32 partitions and 32,000 partitions, and I found that the Rust while the Rust core trying to read those shuffle files and to generate our index, you just spend a lot of time to trying to read and to do sorting about the data from shuffle files. Maybe there are some details I forgot. I will come back to them again and update the proposal. And also maybe I can do a full benchmark for two-file shuffle and the new shuffle format and all the GPU parts to have a compare.
Yeah. And I'd also be happy to review that code and benchmark. I've just recently worked on some optimizations on the two-file shuffler. So I'm pretty familiar with that code path at this point.
So I think as long as we have like a concrete goal from what like what Will listed there, those two for memory, I would add like a max number of open files. so we can reason about those things, and then a benchmark that shows that performance is better. I don't see any reason we would just switch from the 2-file shuffler to the adaptive shuffler everywhere.
All right. Cool. I think that's that topic. And then do we have Andrew on the call here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Andrew. Yeah, so I know you and I have exchanged a couple of
here.
messages, but oh, hey, Ragnar. Yeah. So unfortunately, Jack is presenting a Data and AI Summit, two separate talks this week. So he's been super busy the whole week, and he's not on the call right now. He's at the conference. So maybe you can just summarize this, and then we continue this async as well.
Yeah, I guess this we've gone through a few iterations of these. There was the initial RFC from Andrew, but that kind of got superseded, I guess, by a recent change that's a notice in the code base to kind of deprecate this manifest. And so then went on to design or try to come up with a new RFC that wouldn't essentially rely on this. But then ultimately, Jack kind of responded pretty promptly that he had been thinking about this essentially branch-based, multi-table transaction approach, which I think makes a lot of sense. And I had seen also Bauplan's paper also was kind of had a similar idea there, and I think it makes a lot of sense also kind of reusing some of the primitives that already exist. I just add my comment over here, but I think we can kind of discuss this more in depth when Jack is there. But yeah, this would be like a super important sort of addition, I guess, for us, and I guess hopefully also for the rest of the community. So really happy to also kind of contribute to code there. And I think Jack also found a few dependency issues that we kind of build the foundation for this. I think some of that is also around the kind of branch merge sort of logic. But we're happy to kind of contribute or divide and conquer, however it makes sense for you guys. Because I'm aware also that review now takes more time than ever. So to kind of also be productive in a way that makes sense, essentially. I'm not sure if you want to add anything, Andrew.
No. You pretty much summed it up.
And quick thing. So is this all at the table level, and there are no format changes needed to get this to work, right? Like there's everything that you need is already in the format.
I'm not entirely sure if it will need any format changes, but I don't think so, because I think it kind of would leverage some of the existing primitives. But don't quote me on that.
Okay.
Oh, you mean specifically for Jack's design, right? With the sort of
with this latest
transaction.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think there are some format changes. I think it's even as Ragnar mentioned as well. Like it relies fully on the already implemented tooling. So I think it's the most efficient and the most elegant way to do it. So yeah, it's definitely super clever, and this is something that I would definitely vouch for this implementation.
Sure. So as a next step, once Jack is looking at this again, when he has the time, would you suggest that you folks take on a part of the implementation and maybe fast track this, or wait for Jack to maybe direct on what parts you should implement?
Exactly. I think Jack would probably be in a good position to kind of direct of or how it needs to be kind of divided.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can just connect on Discord and essentially kind of essentially kind of just put the tasks on each one of us, and we can do it like we can prioritize this, because for us, as you know, like downstream is also super important. So like we can prioritize it and make it happen really fast.
Great. So I can help coordinate some of these chats. If you are on Discord, definitely post there. But then I'll maybe ping Jack once he's back, and we can hopefully have like a consensus on how to move forward.
Perfect.
Yeah, sounds good.
Does anyone else have any comments on this or? Cool. Okay, looks like that's our agenda for today then. Great, thanks. Thanks
so
everyone.
much, Prashant.
Yeah, we'll see you soon on Discord. Thank you.
Thank you.